Hey guys, welcome to the Electric Image Express. This is our first video content, and it is our top three San Francisco Chinese restaurants that we recommend. It's an excerpt from episode 20, where Akshay, Eric, and myself revisited Padma Lakshmi's Taste the Nation and her San Francisco Chinatown episode. So check it out, enjoy, leave a comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for next week. So let's go into the food a little bit, okay? Let's give me, okay, well, let's say I'm Christopher Nolte. Tell me which restaurant from the show you would recommend that I go to, and then give me one other Chinese restaurant in San Francisco that I should go to. And then lastly, one outside of China, outside of San Francisco. So Boston, New York, wherever.
Sure.
So Akshay, why don't you go first?
I think
You have questions?
I'd say no. I'd recommend RNG Lounge then. I think I'm thinking about Chris in particular, and I know how much he loves that notion of bringing people together. But I think the Chinese, that notion of the banquet restaurant
Yeah.
is so unique. And although RNG Lounge is Cantonese style dining, and I think that the banquet style restaurant's probably more associated with Shanghainese cuisine. That notion of seafood being the special banquet meal really resonates with me personally, just having grown up in a coastal city and having had that be my family's approach to big meals. But RNG Lounge definitely gets that banquet style kind of meal right. The notion of like big shellfish prepared in a very particular way, and all these other dishes that are delicious and that accompany it. But at the end of the day, like the star of the show is always going to be the shellfish.
Yeah.
And I think
Signature dish.
yeah, and I think Chris, as an example, he loves people, bringing people together. He has no issues with family style eating and family style food, and I think he would love that. And I think the average American would benefit from immersing themselves in this environment where they have family style dining, where they have a bridge, if I may say so, between the traditional notion of Chinese American food and real Chinese food, because RNG kind of serves both of those demographics and helps bridge them in a way, and and bridges both those taste profiles in a way. That's the one restaurant I would recommend from the ones that they went to on the show. The
Yep.
second one, if I could, I have a soft spot for noodles, in particular. So if I was to pick, you know, a restaurant other than that, I would always pick something that's noodle related, and I'd have to think there are two that come to mind. The first is in San Jose, since we're talking about the Bay Area. It's called China Chen. It is kind of under the radar but legendary of sorts. It's a predominantly Hispanic area of San Jose. And all they do
That
is
looks
they
pretty good.
focus on one key element of Cantonese cuisine, which is your wonton noodle soup. So perfect egg noodles, perfect
Ooh,
wontons, with
interesting.
a notion of either roast pork in there or fried chicken, and it is incredible. Like the broth, the noodles, everything. They also do like the oyster pancakes of sorts.
Mm.
Uh, and I'm salivating. I'm sorry.
I like this Coke. This is a
Um,
You're
really
you,
the
high-end
chicken,
Coke that they
you
have.
just demonstrated your badge, Akshay, again and again, because
but
that restaurant China Chen is amazing.
it
It's
is
amazing.
insane. It is one of, and personally for me, it's one of my favorite places. My mom and I, when my parents come and they visit, and I come and I visit, we've got the whole family thing going on. My sister lives here; she's got kids, but it's like the one place that my mom and I will escape to on our own and just crush noodle soup and wonton noodle soup in particular at. The other place I would pick is this place kind of blew up in New York when I first discovered it with Dennis in like 2010 or 2011. It had just opened actually. It sounded like it'd been there forever and people didn't know about it. It's called Lanzu, and it used to be in this like remote corner. I wouldn't say remote, in a it is remote from what people would traditionally think of.
This one?
Yeah, it is. It is remote from what people would traditionally think of Chinatown in New York to be. East Broadway. So when people think of Chinatown, New York, they think of the Lower East Side, which kind of bleeds into Chinatown. Chinatown is kind of incredible in New York because it's Chinatown, but at the same time it borders like the Lower East Side and everything that is associated with being cool over there, and then Tribeca and everything that's associated with like the wealth thereof and Soho. But it is in this area called East Broadway. It's moved a couple of times since.
Oh, this is the California one. Sorry.
And it was just this tiny place that was in this middle of nowhere part of East Broadway until it got discovered and written about by like Eater and New York Magazine and things. But when we used to go there, there were just like 8 seats on this tiny little counter, and there was this one, the guy who worked there, like that there was a couple that ran the place, and the guy used to pull the noodles at a table that was like literally a meter away from you just because there was no space in that place. And he would feel so proud when people who weren't Chinese walked in and marveled at his ability to pull noodles fresh. And I would just sit there, and this guy would just have this big thing of dough, and he'd smack it down and smack it down and then pull and smack it down. And he would keep on turning and looking at me and being like, oh, the not Chinese dude is watching. And I would be like, I was like, you're my hero, man. Like, wow. And that place,
is the place, or am I getting this wrong? Where's the location?
It's East Broadway.
Oh, East Broadway. It's this one? Wait, why is it called ramen?
So I'm just,
It closed. It closed, and then they moved to Bowery. It's closed a couple of times since. I would say that is the only other place I would absolutely recommend somebody goes to. And they also happen to have the best dumplings I've had anywhere. And then it was like 12 dumplings for $3. It's incredible. And it kind of took me into that world of outside of just, hey, this is Namwa Tea Parlor written about by whoever. You can go in and you can order in English and speak to whoever. And it took me into that insular kind of part of Chinatown, but ultimately the places that had the most hidden gems and the most rewarding notion of food that you couldn't really get anywhere else. Like this was something that this guy had brought from his town, right, or his part of China, that nobody else quite had mastered as well in Chinatown in New York, or at least I didn't know anybody else who had. And I think that's the other place I would send somebody to, because it was just the noodles, the minced pork sauce, all of it was just perfect.
So both of those places, I'm just going to throw in a pro tip here from Hawkmo, my dad.
Yes, this is the place.
This is the pro tip. So when you're eating noodles, the distinction between high quality one-ton man and any type of handful noodle is how alkaline the water is, because basically it comes down to cost and price, right? So people add I think it's sodium bicarbonate, which is lye water, to preserve noodles so they last longer. So a high quality place, you won't taste any alkalinity in the water. So that's like the step number one. Like when I go to eat any type of noodles, my parents, they're just like, how alkaline is the water? Because that tells you how high quality it is.
Interesting. Interesting. Those are good places. Always good stories. Eric, what about you?
So yeah, I'll introduce some new ones. But from the show, I have to agree with Akshay.
RNG.
RNG is, if you ask Chinese people who grew up in San Francisco or around, they're like, where to go eat? They all say RNG. And that's because the quality is so high and the preparation so high. And the other thing is there's so much traffic. So again, it comes back to economics. There's so much traffic that they're going through ingredients, right? Like that's the sketchy thing about restaurants that don't have a lot of business, because their food is just less fresh. But if you go to RNG, there's always, except for now with COVID, there's always a line outside. I would say one other like pro tip, if you're going to RNG, go with more than 3 people, ideally 5 to 6, and then order a bunch of shit off the menu and share it. Do not order an entire dish of chicken and eat it to yourself. That is like the biggest faux pas that you can possibly do in any Chinese restaurant is just order a whole bowl of General Tso.
Hey,
The other restaurant, go ahead.
the one pro tip I want to add to this was something Dennis taught me, which is if you're going to dim sum place and you're going to go to a trolley style dim sum place, if it's open from 10 to 3, you don't want to be there past 1:30 because that goes back to what you were talking about around particularly trolleys where it's not made to order. They're making it and then keep serving it along the trolley. If you want to be able to get the freshest food as it comes out of the steamer or wherever it's being prepared, depending on what type of dim sum you're having, you want to be there early on while the rush is still in place. You want to have to wait in a line and then get out.
Or if you're gonna be late, don't be adventurous. Don't get the stuff that most people don't get.
And if you're gonna go, I know we're not talking about pro tips yet, but I can't help myself. The other one,
go to a place that serves to order.
Serves to order. Well, yeah, I wasn't gonna say that, but that's definitely one. Because again, it's fresh. They made it for you. It's not sitting around in a cart. The other one is if you're gonna go to a restaurant in the middle of the week or during a weekday, go on Tuesday or ideally Wednesday. Don't go on Monday because everyone does their ordering for new supplies on Sunday and they pick it up either Sunday or Monday. So if you're going to a restaurant on Sunday or Monday, they're at the end of that week's orders.
Especially I always heard that for like Japanese restaurants.
Yes, I was about to say that. No, don't go eat sushi on Monday. It's not going to be the freshest sushi you could get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing in general in Chinatown, this is my opinion, in most of the mainstream original like OG Chinatowns, you can say this about Manhattan, you can say this about San Francisco, the best food is generally not there. It's in the newer communities where there's more money, more immigrants.
I was going to say Richmond.
Yep.
Richmond, Daly City, San Mateo.
Yeah.
But let's stick to Chinatown for 1 second because that's what the episode is. I would add to that list, if you must, Z and Y is bomb.
Yes.
It's a Sichuan place. It's overpriced as is, I think, RNG. They're kind of really banking on the fact that Obama.
Same demographic though, right? They're looking for like that adventurous white person.
Exactly. And it's bomb, right? And it's spicy enough that you're not going to die, but
it tingles.
I would get.
It's going to numb it's more than a tingle. It's numbing. If
you're a noob and you don't eat spicy food normally, you're going to probably have a problem. The other two, I'll just add these, right? So there are 4 spots that I tell people about for Chinatown. So those 2 that we just talked about, good Mongok Bakery. It's a hole in the wall. It's takeout only. So you got to go find a bench. I usually go back to that playground that we just showed earlier. I go order a couple, you got to scope it out and see, are they bringing out new stuff, right?
And the key is it's not just with Dugong Mok. It's not just I probably butchered that. My bad. It's not just the buns and the baos, but their shui mai is also incredible.
Yep.
There's a bunch of steam stuff too.
That's daikon. Skip the egg tart because the next place that you need to go to is Golden Gate Bakery. Okay, so the 2 things I'll say about good Mongok and Golden Gate is they are the rudest people possible. They're cash only, and they are so incredibly rude, but it doesn't matter because their food is bomb.
They don't need to be nice. They're too good.
Here's the funny thing about Golden Gate Bakery. There's a line when it's open. These guys open whenever they damn please. They literally have contradicting signs up. The last time I was there, it said closed today, open Saturday. And then it was Saturday, and it said closed today, open tomorrow. They had both signs up. But the only thing you need to get there are the egg tarts. They are bomb. They're the best egg tarts that you can get, I think, in California. I mean, I haven't been every place, but with the exception of LA.
It's legendary. It's a legendary place.
Those are the 4. And then now, if you have a car, go to Koi Palace in Daly City.
Yep.
That is known as the best dim sum place. And they serve a great Cantonese dinner as well. But you need to go, like Akshay said, you need to go before 10 a.m. You need to go 9:30 and line up.
Yeah.
Sean, you and I have been through this new path where we try to go at 1 o'clock and
3-hour wait. Yeah.
There's a 3-hour wait. But Koi Palace, it is the best. There's Dalong Bao. Those are Shenzhen Bao. Oh my God, I'm dying right now.
Oh, God, you're making me hungry. You're making me real hungry. Yeah, I mean, so I'm gonna share all of these on our Google Maps, so all our listeners can access these and have these. If they ever go to San Francisco or in New York. Um, I don't want to, we're running a little low on time, so I just want to quickly say yes on RNG Lounge. There is a special dish you can order. I think it's like a stuffed duck or chicken. I think stuffed chicken.
Oh yeah, you have to order
Yeah, you have to
48 hours.
order it. You have to order 40 hours ahead, so you can do
Oh, I
that.
didn't know that.
That's really good. And then Koi Palace, they also have another same owners. They have a restaurant called Dragon Bow, which is in Richmond, which is also
Yep.
pretty good. Uh,
But it's more, it's not as traditional. It's a
it's
bit
not
of
as
a,
traditional, which I
Right.
want to get to in a second about that, which I think is interesting. I'll add one more, which I particularly like. Is called Kingdom of Dumpling. Literally someone's living room that was just converted into a little dining space. I particularly love dumplings, but specifically chive pork dumplings. Those are the only dumplings I'll ever eat. And that's
Oh,
something I was rooted into my brain growing up when
oh.
my aunt would make them for me. And she still does, and they're delicious. But they make killer dumplings, chive dumplings with pork, with shrimp. And it's just, it is, my weak spot, a hole in the wall area. So
Oh,
Sunset to Richmond, this whole area on the west side of San Francisco is all kind of like, I think where a lot of Chinese people, maybe their generation started in Chinatown, they moved out, and this was the kind of the first suburb before they moved out to East Bay, San Mateo, other parts of the Bay Area.